So you're slicing your driver. Let me guess. Your friends or maybe even another golf professional told you to strengthen your grip. And what happened? You're still slicing it. Well, the good news is today we're going to tell you why the grip is not the reason you're slicing it. More importantly, it's not how you fix it. It's actually the movement of your wrist. I'm PGA teaching professional Todd Kolb, Director of Instruction for US Golf TV and the Sanford Power Golf Academy. And hey, if you're like most golfers, and I'm guessing if you're watching this video, you probably slice your driver and you've probably been told to strengthen your grip. And the good news is we're going to tell you why that actually doesn't work, but more importantly, how to fix it. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and be sure to leave a comment because I love hearing from you. If you've got some tips or some ideas that have helped you eliminate the slice with your driver, share them with me because maybe you can help me be a better coach, but more importantly, you can also help our fellow golfers. So let's dive right into this because the most common thing when people slice their driver that they go do is strengthening their grip. So I want to talk about a couple things here. Number one is I want to talk about what is a strong grip. And then number two, we're going to talk about how the movement of the wrist is actually the reason and the way that you can fix slicing once and for all. So let's talk about the different grips. So when we talk about weak, strong, neutral grips, here's what we're talking about. We're talking about the lead hand. So when I put my lead hand on the golf club, a neutral grip, most people would agree, a neutral grip would be a position where the lead hand, when I look down on it, I can see my top two knuckles right here. I can see these two knuckles, and also this line, kind of that's formed between my thumb and my hand, points towards my trail shoulder, which is my right shoulder. Now, if you're a left-handed golfer, right, it's just the reverse. It's just the reverse. It's going to be your right hand, but it's going to be the same process. It's going to point towards your left shoulder. So a neutral grip, two knuckles, point towards trail shoulder. Now a strong grip is if I rotate it all the way over, so now I can see four knuckles, and this line here is pointing kind of down more towards my hip. That would be a strong grip. That would be the most common suggestion when people slice their driver that they go to. You say, hey, you've got to strengthen your grip. Now, a weak grip, just in terms of documentation and kind of reference point, a weak grip, as you can probably gather, would be when my thumb is pointing straight down the club shaft like this, and when I look down, I can't really see any knuckles, and the line that's formed between my thumb and my hand points at my chin. So that's what when we talk about strong, neutral, weak grip, that's what we're talking about in terms of today's discussion. So let's talk, though, about the wrist movement. And this is really the secret right here. So this is when you really want to pay attention. When we look at the lead wrist, I got a Titleist glove on here. What I want you to notice is when I take the Titleist logo and I rotate it towards the sky, we call that extension. When I take the Titleist logo and I rotate it towards the ground, we call that flexion. Extension, flexion. Now, here's the real secret. This is when you want to really take notes. I want you to watch what happens to the club face when I work my wrists in those two different positions. Now, the best part is I'm going to give you a drill at the end here how to actually practice this, all right? Because we're getting rid of that slice with the driver. We're not slicing anymore. So I'm going to take a neutral grip, okay? And if I take the logo and I rotate it towards the sky, notice that the club face, what happens there? Club face rotates open. What type of shot do you think that's gonna produce? Probably a slice. But what if I take the logo, the Titleist, and I move towards flexion, i.e. I rotate it towards the ground? Boom. Notice that it goes towards the ground. So it's the actual movement of the wrist that helps you square the club face and eliminates that slice with your driver once and for all. So how can we practice that? And as an amateur golfer, where do I need to get that movement built into my golf swing? So let's talk about the amateur golfer. Let's say you're the weekend golfer, you play once or twice a month, and you're slicing your driver. So here's what's important based on my experience, is that you want to get that wrist into flexion early in the takeaway. So when you're set in there, when you take that club back, boom, you're going to rotate that logo down towards the ground early. Now when you do that, that's going to get that club face in a nice square or maybe even slightly closed position, and it's going to help you draw the golf ball. Most amateur golfers, the mistake that they make is when they take the club away, they go to flexion early, so it looks like this. They take the logo and they rotate it towards the sky, and from this position, you can draw the ball, but you got a lot of fixing to do. So the first tip is, for an amateur golfer, when you take that back, Take the logo, rotate it towards the ground. That'll get your club face in the position that you want to in terms of drawing the ball. Now the tip or the drill that you can do to kind of tie this together, because maybe you got it in a good spot here at the top, but a lot of golfers get out of position at the top of their swing. So let me show you that for discussion here. So we're back here. I got in a good spot. Now a lot of people, when they get to the top, they actually go into extension again, and you'll notice then the club face rotates open. Okay, now we've got a problem. Okay, now we can come down here and we can fix it, but we got a lot of work in order to do that. All right, so understanding this wrist movement, extension opens the club face. It's not good or bad, but it opens the club face. Flexion closes it. So what's the drill that you can do? Well, here's my favorite drill. I love drills that don't require a lot of, you don't got to purchase some fancy training device. I got a golf glove. I've got a tee. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tee and I'm going to put it right in here, right in my golf glove here. Okay, notice how that's sitting right like that. So what I'm going to do is when I take the club away from the ball, I'm going to rotate that tee down towards the ground. And when I work towards the top, I'm going to get that tee pointed towards the sky. And when the tee is pointed towards the sky, I've got my wrist in flexion, I've got the club face under control. If the tee was pointed over here towards the net, now the club face is open. All right, so take it away, tee to the ground, tee to the sky. Now you can imagine the transition. Where's it going to go? Tee to the ground. And when I do that, I'm learning to move my wrist into flexion, keeping it in flexion, and rotating it back down. Now you might just do that the first couple times without even a golf club. Flexion, flexion, and right down there. So if you're slicing your driver, it's not because your grip is too weak, and the answer is not to make your grip stronger. It's in understanding how the movement of the wrist actually opens or closes the club face. So these tips, this information is hopefully going to once and for all end the slice for you and hopefully help you start hitting longer drives down the middle of the fairway.